This will be a quick video on how to answer questions that are framed behaviorally, but also technical questions that relate to your subject matter expertise. And I will give you a number of examples so I make myself well understood here. Tell me about the time when you closed a complex sale. Okay, this will be for a sales role. Or tell me about the time when you invented a new algorithm. This would be for a software engineer type of role. Or tell me about the time you put together a complex bid with multiple stakeholders. Okay, so this would be client-facing roles responsible of bidding, of the bidding process in general, right? Or tell me about your most challenging internal talent review process. Okay, so this will be for HR roles. So as you can see, these questions are framed behaviorally. Tell me about the time when, but then the second part is purely technical, relates to one's subject matter expertise. So why would someone ask you this in a job interview? Why would someone ask you such a behavioral question in a job interview? And in 95% of the cases, or even more, this is not to screen on your behavioral interviewing skills, but rather your subject matter expertise. Okay, so in 95% of the cases, they're interested in whether, hey, is this a guy a good software engineer? Is this a guy a good sales person? Or is it a good HR person? Okay, so they would ask you for an example of a time when you did this in the star format and whatnot, but still the main goal here is to screen you on your subject matter expertise. The only different or slightly different approach you might want to take is for super senior roles where really behavioral interviewing is core to the job description, if I may call it so. And this will be for executive types of roles and for manager level type of roles. Okay, for manager level types of role, behavioral interviews should be the bread and butter of what you do. It's part of your job. Right, so except in these scenarios, these questions you could even consider them purely technical, if you want to go the safest possible way and keep the main thing, right? Also, the reason why this is so important to get right from the beginning, that this is actually to test your subject matter expertise, is because many of you will decide on the depth of the answers that you're going to provide here. And this is often where difference is being made. Okay, are you a hands-on or hands-off type of guy? And this actually gives you, this is often the starting point of a deep dive or a backbone test in a job interview. And the number one mistake that people do here would be to link to stuff such as, hey, I will target to give 2-minute answers during my job interview. Whereas, if tell me about the time when you closed a complex sale. The complexity of your sale might take longer than 2 minutes to explain. Okay, and this is why in most cases I recommend you consider long, convincing first answers in these job interviews, because that's what I simply find that they simply work better. Okay, now what long means to you might actually mean short to other people. Okay, so I have people who consider 10 minutes on the shorter side of answering these types of questions. And for technical types of questions, you could easily go for 15 minutes for certain types of scenarios, if you want to explain something that is more complex, right? Now, if you really know what you're doing, and salespeople are no exception of being really good at interviewing and at behavioral interviews, you could also go with short, concise answers. But this is less than 2% of candidates, right, in job interviews. So I guess my point here is that don't fall into the trap of not giving in the right type of depth to the answers you provide in job interview because you thought this would be a behavioral question, and in a behavioral question you must do 2 minutes maximum. Right, so this would be the first thing. And by the way, one more note here, how you on the subject of how could you maybe make your answer longer and more convincing, you could also consider the STAR worksheet. In other words, a list of follow-up and challenge questions. For each of the stuff in your STAR answer, you could further improve it using those examples, right? And this, I found this works quite well. Okay, the second mistake you want to avoid here is hypothetical answers. So, for example, if someone would ask you, tell me what time I closed a complex sale, an unprepared candidate or a candidate who doesn't understand what the interviewer is actually looking for would go on the hypothetical side. Well, I believe I've closed many complex sales in my career, and how I would go about closing sales would be this, and that, without giving any specific examples of a time when you actually achieved something like this. Okay, so in my experience, the hypothetical part is maximum as an appetizer to your actual answer, and this is simply because the definition of behavioral interviews, when they ask you about your previous experiences, so they can predict your future performance on the job, right? So it's no problem if you give an introduction that is slightly on the hypothetical side, or some people prefer to do it because they want to brainstorm for an actual answer they would like to provide during the interview. But you should try to get specific. Okay, and as I'm getting towards the end of this video, I would also like to highlight where is the value of behavioral interviewing skills in all this. The value of this is because no matter how skilled you are for a job interview, job interviews are also done to screen you on things such as clarity of thought and conciseness. Is this candidate making sense and stuff like this? And the better you score with these things, the more likely you will bias the interviewer towards you. Okay, so this is not because interviewers want to get biased, but this is because you can bias them towards you. And this would be the added value of doing well on the behavioral interviewing skills part. And the other thing I wanted to say here is that these behavioral interviews have been conducted on billions of times. Okay, so they wouldn't be conducted so often if they wouldn't be so effective. Okay, so I believe that even though you should be really careful as how to interpret the question, and again, if the question talks about your subject matter expertise, then you should really answer with your subject matter expertise on this. But still, there is value in improving your behavioral interviewing skills. Again, in the context of biasing the interviewers towards you, and why not get up-leveled or negotiate a better job offer. So I hope I made myself clear. I hope this is useful, and thank you very much for watching.